several centuries back, when money originally started, it used to be supported by a reserve of gold. You want to print 100 rupees, keep 100 rupees of gold aside. Otherwise that paper has no value. And the logic was, anybody having a paper money can go to the government and say, here is 100 rupees, give me 100 rupees of gold, and the government will give it to you. That's what gave value to the paper. So when you print money against a reserve of gold, that system was called the gold standard. And the currency was called hard currency. Now I'm talking about 200-300 years ago. But then what happened? Countries' need for money grew faster than the availability of gold. Countries were developing, you needed infrastructure, so they realized, okay, everyone doesn't come every day to ask them, take my paper money and give me gold. So government said, if you want print 100 rupees, we'll keep 80 rupees of gold. Then they said, we'll keep 60 rupees of gold. Then they said, we'll keep 40 rupees of gold. And then one by one, they stopped keeping gold. When you don't print money, don't keep a reserve of gold, that system is called fiat system, and the currency is called soft currency. Amongst the last country that hung on to the gold standard was Great Britain. I think even Great Britain got out of it just before the First World War. Now tell me, what happens if your imports are greater than your exports? Does currency enter your country or does currency leave your country? It leaves. America has a huge negative balance of trade. I may not have the latest numbers, but if I remember correctly, they were importing more than they were exporting, over $1 trillion of goods, which means more than $2.5 to $3 billion every day is the negative balance of trade. Does currency enter US or does it leave the US? It should be leaving. But funnily it enters. How does it enter? Who does America buy from? They buy from China, they buy from Japan, they buy from India. And they are paid in what currency? In dollars. But what does India need dollars for? We need rupees. Japan needs yen. China needs yuan. So when these countries earn in dollars, you take the dollars back to the US and invest in the US, so it comes back. As a result, folks, now the number has changed, but some time back, well over $1 trillion of US Treasury bonds were held by China. China, of course, is getting cold feet about these things, and they systematically are selling that. Every day you pick up the paper, you'll read so many $1 billion of bonds are sold. They don't do it together, otherwise it can create a ripple effect, but they do it slowly. And now I think China's treasury bond holding has come down to some $750 billion or something. Without exaggeration, half the real estate of US is owned by Japan. India invests sovereign funds in US. So as a result, nobody wants the dollar to collapse. Guys, if the dollar does collapse, not only America will suffer, India will suffer, Japan will suffer, China is such a sweet spot. But I shudder to think, in case one day America loses the world reserve currency status, America itself can collapse like a house of cards, but many other countries will suffer. There is a different set of people working on the receiving money part, and a different group of people planning the spending, and the two groups don't talk to each other. They do their own thinking. Now, if these two groups are going to work independent of each other, Then you can visualize a few scenarios. Let's imagine the people in charge of spending decide we want to spend 100 rupees. And the people in charge of seeing where the money will come from do their own thinking. Then there are three possibilities. They might collect 100, or they might collect more than 100, or less than 100. Have you ever seen a budget where the planned receipts and planned expenditures are the same? Never. If it ever happens, that budget will be called a balanced budget.